Welcome to the Wild Medicine Podcast. My name is Tarani, the owner of earthly.com, a sacred path to inner healing, self-discovery, and creativity. I am an energy healer and professional artist ready to reweave ceremony and heart-centeredness into humanity. Wild Medicine is a podcast to hold sacred space to learn the ancient ways of wellness. We talk about anything from spiritual alchemy to astrology and even trauma transmutation. It is my mission to educate you on the wild medicines of our world and to show you the way to unleash your personal power. This podcast is full of episodes with both just me and plenty of our powerful guests. Each episode we will bring to you the medicines of story, knowledge, and transformation. Now is our divine time to step into the sacred space and to take in all the powerful knowledge that I have for you today. Sit back, relax, and always tune in. Take what you need and leave whatever does not serve you. It is my honor to bring this message forth for you. Please enjoy. Blessings and hello, beautiful Wild Medicine family. I hope that you are doing well. This is Tarani here. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for being present and engaging with this powerful podcast. I'm really looking forward to releasing this week's episode with the Yoni Temple School. These lovely ladies are so inspiring and so vibrant and passionate about their work, and it was truly an honor to interview them, so I'm really looking forward to sharing this episode with you guys. I have taken a little bit of a break from the podcast and a lot of work in general for the month of June just to ground and reset and deeply nourish my own temple and connection to self. So I hope that you all are out there doing the same. When there's so much chaos in life and a lot of uncertainty, I think it's important that we embrace the mystery. And in order to embrace mysteries and uncertainty in times where life feels a little shaky, we have to come back to the self, we have to turn inward, and we have to remember our true self. And so a lot of times, in order to even get to that space, we have to withdraw, we have to pull back a lot of layers and get into an environment where we can really dig deeper. So if you haven't been doing that, this is a little special invitation to do that, to hold space for yourself in a way that is extraordinary and deeply nourishing to the inner workings of your world. And if you find yourself getting overwhelmed and exhausted and scared, allow it to just be a message from your higher self to slow down and tune in with your own divine temple. We need it right now. We all need to be taking care of ourselves in the deepest, most bountiful way. And so I hope you guys are doing the same as I have been doing. I thought that this would be a powerful episode to slide back into the wild medicine with, because we sit and we talk about the Yoni. And the Yoni is the beautiful sacred energy portal of the feminine genitalia, our vagina. And the Yoni really encompasses the entire uterus, the ovaries, the vaginal canal, the cervix, and the sacred energy that is, that dwells within the sacred space of the divine feminine. And it's once you start tuning in with this sacred center, your womb space, it allows you to really sit upon the throne of your life in a way that is much more enriching and deepens your personal power and deepens what that even means to you. And I think that as more women come into acknowledgement and honor of their yoni, we will see a lot more grace and ease and true power in the world. And I know when we hear the word power, if you're in the Western world, it's easy to connect that to malpractice or disembodiment or struggle, but When I speak of power, I speak of that true, juicy essence that comes from being totally aware of who you are, where you are, why you're here, and how you want to serve your purpose. And from there, you can be truly powerful, truly radiant. And I think for a lot of women, the yoni is the gateway to that. So getting comfortable with yourself, all of the things. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and hop into this podcast because it is quite long. But I know you're going to enjoy every single step of the way. So in this week's episode, we have the Yoni Temple School, which is a school founded upon womb empowerment education and guides women to remember the way of the womb and feel held and supported as they radically shift their perspective and understanding of menstruation, sex as a sacred practice, womb healing, and more. At the Yoni Temple School, women get illuminated into her womb story, shift old perspectives, and learn to live in alignment with her womb, body, and earth. There are 3 powerful women who make up the Yoni Temple School. And they are Hannah, Sam, and Carissa, and those are the creatresses of the Yoni Temple School. Hannah is a feminine embodiment coach and a womb empowerment educator, guiding women to transform and embody their journeys to awaken their sensual radiance, rewire their subconscious, and alchemize their triggers and traumas that are deeply intertwined with their disharmony in the womb space. Sam Rhea is a wise womb medicine path, and if you remember, we had Naomi Love on the podcast, who is the founder of the Wise Womb Medicine Way. So Sam is an initiate of this lineage and this practice, and she's a womb massage practitioner with a background in plant spirit medicine and integrative Shakti Reiki energy healing. Carissa is an Amba Movement teacher and a feminine embodiment photographer and the founder of the Wild Woman Magic Photography, where she guides women into their raw power, beauty, and essence, and is able to capture it in a way that brings true empowerment into their feminine energy. So altogether, these women are very, very powerful in their ability to understand themselves and take time to nourish. So as we are in a time of summer when things are hot and dry and a little bit more wilder than usual, this is a beautiful time to come into that space of balance of nourishment and deep healing, but also play and how they dance together. So I'm excited to be releasing this podcast. I hope you guys enjoy it. Please let me know what you think. Leave a review. Shout us out. All the love is appreciated. And I also wanted to let you guys know that we are relaunching our website on Sunday, July 12th. Earthly.com has got a major upgrade and revamp to its beauty and how it is delivered, but also its vibrational frequency. Did lots of healing work in there. So I'm excited to be releasing it. And with the relaunch of the website, I am releasing 2 new herbal medicine products, which is the Moon Petal Elixir, which is an elixir that I made for feminine healing and balancing the hormones and deepening the connection with the physical organs of the feminine body. And then also the Yucca flower essence I am releasing, which helps with stepping into unshakable faith and devotion towards your life purpose and being brave to go through the dark nights of the soul. And then we're also releasing the Magnolia flower essence, which is a profound healer for times of crisis and disharmony. And when life just feels like it's falling apart, this essence will come in and help clear all the loose ends and help you gracefully let go on all that no longer serves you while you rise up into what truly serves you. Along with the botanical offerings that Earthly.com has, we are also updating our master crystal list. So there's going to be lots of new crystals available that I have gone out throughout my travels around the world pre-COVID, and found master crystals that are high vibrational healers. And so they're going to be on there. There's a wide variety of crystals. There's lots of powerful rose quartz, clear crystal record keepers, rhodonites, celestial amethysts, powerful crystals, as well as yoni eggs, pleasure wands, crystal facial rollers. So lots of luxury coming onto earthly.com. So if you have a moment, I would really appreciate it if you could check it out. Like I said, we'll be relaunching on Sunday, July 12th. So please check it out, show some love and support. Thank you, guys. I hope you enjoy this episode. It is my greatest honor to deliver it to you at such a powerful time. Sat Nam, folks. See you on the other side. Hello, Yoni Temple School goddesses. Welcome to the Wild Medicine Podcast.
So excited to be here.
Yes, what an honor. So before we dive into the episode, we're going to tune in and hold space for an invocation. So wherever you are, just taking this moment to come into your breath. If you are safe to close your eyes, I invite you to, and just begin to turn inward towards your heart, your mind, your spirit, allowing it all to come into unity. Allowing yourself to activate your authentic listening so that you can take all that serves you from this episode, all the juicy medicine that we all have for you, and calling upon your whole self to be present. And if any of you goddesses would like to share, invite in anything else, you're more than welcome to.
Yeah. So I invite everyone to drop their awareness all the way down to the very base of your pelvis. And if you are a woman listening and you have a yoni, to actually feel your yoni, to feel her lips, to feel the rose of the clitoris. Just kind of tracing your yoni with your mind, and sensing where she opens and flowers, blossoms open into the inner walls of the yoni and even beyond into the stargate of the cervix and into the womb space. And just feeling into this vast, infinite space within your body. And feeling your truest, wildest wisdom, the codes of your being, your spirit. And as you're listening to this, what is bound to be a powerful conversation, to just notice how your body is responding and how these words, as they transmit through whatever device you are listening on, how they resonate within your body. Oh.
Thank you so much for that. The Yoni Temple has been activated. Thank you. So if we can begin with you guys just introducing yourself and sharing about the wild medicine that the three of you creatresses infuse into the world.
Yeah, so My name is Hannah Grasso, and I think the best way, because it's like we have the wild medicine that each of us shares individually, and then we have the wild medicine that is really a culmination of that, and that is Yoni Temple School. So we can kind of expand on that as well, but we'll start individually. And I am a yoga and embodiment teacher, as well as a womb empowerment educator and a coach, a guide. I lead womb empowerment journeys for women who want to kind of feel more radiant and more confident in their radiant expression, as well as really dig deep into their subconscious body and do the clearing, the healing, the shifting, the transmuting, and ultimately come into a sacred relationship with their womb, their heart, as well as all of their past life experiences, triggers, and traumas, and to actually transform that relationship to them so that they can use them as grounds for creation and manifestation and ultimately becoming who they came here to be. That's a little bit of what I do.
Oh, magical. That's so cool.
My name is Sam. Hello, everybody. Well, it's so interesting speaking to the future people that will be listening to this. Because right now it's just the three of us or the four of us. So I began my womb journey when I gave birth to my daughter. So after I had her, I realized I actually thought that I then felt my womb for the first time after I gave birth. And I thought that I still had another baby in there that maybe like accidentally didn't come out. I think I told you this, Hannah. Did I? Yeah. And that's when I realized, like, whoa, I think that's my womb. And I felt like what the organ feels like. And it was like different. It's different, I think, when you give birth because it expands and then it's like your body's going back into the place of, of all of the organs and all that stuff. So just feeling that was my first initiation into just making the conscious choice, like, okay, there's something there for me to explore. Yeah. And then right before that, I was doing Amba. I still am. I'm a Amba. We're all Amba teachers. It's a feminine embodied movement practice that really connects someone to their heart and their whole body earth connection. And my background's in plant spirit medicine. So now infusing all of those together have cultivated has been a cultivating of harnessing that all of my favorite things together. So I'm just really excited and honored that I get to do that with Hannah and Carissa by my side, because it has been a journey, even the journey of being like afraid to share my medicine and being afraid to speak out and talk about these types of things. And I feel so grateful to have had Hannah and Carissa next to me for this journey. And yeah.
Oh, that's so sweet. I love it. And Carissa, I would love to hear your introduction too. Oh.
Yes. I'm Carissa, and I am an artist and actress, dancer, photographer. And when I found Amba Movement, it was such an incredible pathway for me in exploring my true authenticity as an artist and as a creator. And it helped me so much in being able to access myself and my creative power that's within my body. And so it completely amplified all of my work and being an actor and a dancer, like it just gave me such a different pathway to be able to go in and feel myself, and informed what kind of work I wanted to be making with performance artwork and exploring movement. And it also just transformed my relationship with the earth. I always loved being in nature, as I think most people do love and appreciate nature in some way. But being a student of Amba really showed me how to connect with the earth in ways I never knew were possible, and how to go into deep listening, and how to develop this real living relationship with the living being that is the earth. And then later on, I studied with Hannah actually as well, and learned so much from her about following my cycles and offering blood to the earth and doing yoni steaming, which just deepened that relationship so much more with my body and with the earth. So yeah, ever since then, it's I've just been on this journey of connection with body and earth, and feeling that as a woman and as a feminine being, and what that means. And my art has been taking on one of my art forms, photography, has been taking on this pathway of really helping other women, guiding them back into their bodies, into their unique essence, through photo shoots. So I actually guide Amba Movement in my photo shoots, and guide women to feel the earth, feel the beauty of their essence, and I get to capture that. And so it's so beautiful, because I'm just getting to capture women as they truly are, and get to show them that, and so they can actually see that after, and see that reflected back with them, and all of their power and their beauty. So yeah, that's me.
So beautiful. Thank you. I love how, you guys as individuals really have your own gifts, of course, and your own journey, and how you're able to weave them together to create the Yoni Temple School. I think that is such a beautiful expression of feminine healing, and just the pathways of feminine to like come together and collaborate and stand in our own unique gifts and share our unique gifts. I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what you just said was part of why it started with Sam and I, and Sam reached out one time, was just like, my womb just kept saying your name. and we were talking about it, and I had been on this like entrepreneurial path of like doing these programs and leading this work, and I loved it so much. And also I was feeling this like call to collaborate and be in like, like a village of on a team of women who were who shared these same values and the vision, right, that I was reaching for. And when Sam and I came together and started kind of building what is now Yoni Temple School with the three of us, we were saying exactly that. Like that's actually the way that the feminine works. It's not, I have my thing, you have your thing, we stay separate, me against you, and this, and like I my path and your path. It's actually this beautiful interweaving and intertwining, and this beautiful dance together, and this spiraling of wisdom, and kind of bringing that in. And yeah, that's the way the feminine wants to work. And it's been so palpable for us throughout this whole journey of just how much spirit is in delight, and the earth is in delight that we have come together and started doing this work together. Like spirit, every time the three of us get together and we have our meetings and we're planning and, planning circles and workshops and things, it's just like spirit is just like pouring through, because there's so much more of that feminine spiral energy to what we're doing now.
Of course. Yeah. And the collective energy of all of you guys really holds that space for the feminine energy to come in fully, you know, because each one of you have your own gifts and have your own infusions. And so I think it's really awesome that you're able to do that, and that it is deeply rooted in feminine embodiment. Like when I look at all your guys' ceremonies, your offerings, I had such a pleasure to join the full moon gathering, which was just exactly what I needed. And it was really cool to see that, you know, that is the core, is like that feminine embodiment, and how that can be a safe space. And, you know, of course, through my own journey and just holding these conversations, especially about feminine healing, there's so much fear around that. And that's something that I'm becoming more aware of, like, say, opening the conversations about Yoni steams, or like Yoni, and people are just like, what is that? Or I'm scared to Yoni steam, even though it's something, it's so gentle and simple. It's like there's a lot of fear around connecting with the womb space. So I would love for you guys to share, maybe beginning with what the Yoni is, and how to invoke that relationship to create a more safe environment inside of your womb to really create that activation.
Yeah. So the word yoni actually encompasses the vagina, the cervix, and the whole womb space. And that includes the physical organ of the womb, as well as the energetic space of the womb. So that word yoni encompasses all of that. And yeah, this whole focus on feminine embodiment is so important. And I think a lot of women have that experience, people have that experience of, like, there's a little, because it's unfamiliar, there's been so many reasons throughout thousands of years that the feminine and the arts of the feminine have really been suppressed and hindered. And, you know, even for women who do go into more of like the spiritual practices, which tend to be things like yoga and meditation, or energy work, which are all incredibly beautiful practices, obviously, and so valuable and powerful. However, they don't necessarily foster this deep connection and education around being in a woman's body, and ultimately being connected to the feminine. So that is really what we are so inspired and passionate about sharing within the Yoni Temple School, and bringing women back into this, what is really our birthright, to be connected, to understand our cycles, to understand our flow, and even be connected to our breaths and to our whole body, and to understand that, you know, when we're so sensitive, it's not that we're crazy or anything like that, that we're actually incredibly intuitive beings, and that we sense and we feel with our entire bodies, which is actually, that is different than the man's body. So yeah, I'll leave it there. If Sam or Carissa, you want to share a little bit.
Yeah, I love what you said about the part when, like, not feeling crazy when we go through all of our different cycles and phases, and knowing that sometimes we want to be like more internal, or like sometimes we feel more expressive and outward, and just like really getting in touch with that. And when I first did my womb apprentice training with the Wise Womb Medicine Path with Naomi Love, which you mentioned you interviewed earlier, I remember we were guided into this like opening of our whole body, that literally we would start our mornings out with like dancing for like what felt like for hours, to the point where we were kind of forced to feel everything that wanted to come up. So at one point I felt like crazy, knowing I'm not crazy, knowing that, okay, this is part of the journey, because at one point I was like sobbing in tears, And then another point, I'm like cracking up, laughing so hard. And mind you, everyone is going through their own experience with this. So we just look like a bunch of, if someone were to just walk in and just see what's going on here, we would look like just these crazy wild women exploring like all the different embodiment and feelings and emotions and all of that all happening at one time, which is crazy. Sounds crazy if what we think, what we're like told may look crazy, or, you know, experiencing all of these emotions. And so, yeah, that picture was painted in my head when you were speaking earlier, Hannah. And so, yeah, just really surrendering to all the different emotions that we have and phases that we go through in our lives. And I think it's really important to highlight that, because we like are not crazy. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If anyone's listening and people tell you like you have to be like one way all the time, like no way. Like the moon changes and has different phases and goes through different cycles, and so do we. And then when we acknowledge that and honor that and surrender to that, then that's when we open to more life force and we're more alive in that moment.
Yeah, I definitely resonate. And I think like that just brings up to me to share, like, really you just have to drop all your preconceived notions of like what a woman is and like what society has taught you what a woman is and how to exist as a woman in order to like really come into that embodiment, because there's so much put onto us, like you're great, like the craziness, or like you're too sensitive, or you know, even down to the preconceived notions of like being a woman is painful.
Yeah.
You know? There's a lot of unmasking and uncovering we have to go through in order to actually get into our sacredness.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think also that's like the whole, what you just said about, you know, being a woman is painful. I think it really speaks to our like collective relationship to pain and the avoidance of pain, and seeing pain as something that is wrong or bad or that needs to be fixed, or anything that is even slightly uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I think that part of, you know, definitely within my experience and what I see for so many other women is that, you know, when you do this work and you develop a more sacred relationship with your body and with your womb and with the earth and your cycles, that you may still experience quote unquote pain, but the relationship that you now have to it is so much different. And you realize that there is so much there for you, that it's actually your body speaking to you, and there's wisdom to be felt there and thus used, integrated into your being. And I think it's a really big miss of an opportunity for so many women who feel like, oh, I just have to get rid of this pain. I have to numb this pain. There must be something wrong with me because I have this pain. Maybe it means there's something exactly right. And that, you know, that's actually something for you to go deep into so that you can, you know, sprout and grow and actually, yeah, integrate that wisdom into your being.
Yeah, I resonate with that. And, you know, especially I think like for me and my journey, one of the most powerful things was learning my cycle and learning like the different phases of my cycle and how I can support myself throughout the whole journey of my life, especially when our moon comes or our bleed comes. We're able to like see that pain or see that, you know, whatever we're experiencing, or even when you're before you're going to start your period and maybe your hormones are getting you a little crazy, or, you know, whatever, how to listen to those messages and to know what medicine you need. Yeah. That's like been such a powerful thing for me with like connecting to my yoni and connecting to and coming into the space of remembrance of like, oh my God, this is like a whole system, and I have to like learn the system. And then from there, it just gets a lot easier, a lot more understandable, a lot more gracious as well. Being a woman it is actually such a freaking luxury.
Yes. Yeah, and it's also this having a relationship to the entire cycle, not just paying attention to your menstrual cycle when you are bleeding or when you are ovulating, if you're even paying attention to it at that point, but it's actually being able to be in a relationship with the entire cycle so that when it comes to the time of the premenstrual phase or the bleeding phase, which is typically when women will experience more of these like, uncomfortable sensations or experiences in like mentally or emotionally, anything like that. But that actually becomes reduced because you've been caring and nurturing and honoring your needs and your body and your heart throughout the whole cycle.
Yeah, and my favorite time is the enchantress phase, which is right before I'm about to bleed. Ooh, do I get so grouchy if I am not giving myself the space and the time to like slow down, nurture myself, like really take care of myself and give myself that like that's a good time for me to start doing womb massage. And I noticed the contrast when I definitely don't, if I'm like too busy to like, or that's the excuse I'm like making up, if I don't make the time to nurture myself the week before I'm supposed to bleed, I feel so off and so weird and like extra cranky and snappy. And I know that's not me. That's like not who I am. That's a part of me that is like my inner child, like screaming, saying like, pay attention to me, nurture me, honor me, So that's when usually I'll like have to get into a room by myself and I'll put on some music and I will legit start like growling and crawling and just like getting into this, like what feels like the dark feminine that is rising within me. And once I like harness that energy, it's so like raw and it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of like sexy to me. I know everyone goes through their own versions of it. But once that part of myself feels seen and taken care of and nourished, like that's when I can channel my energy to create instead of being like this like snappy, angry, like contracted person that isn't my true self.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And especially, because as women, we are creators, and like we're here to create art and whatever that is to us, and I think when you choose to like create your life with full awareness of like what your body's going through, what your body's telling you, it makes the art of life so much more radiant and beautiful.
Yeah. And people call that phase, what do they call it? PMS? The phase right before you're about to bleed, which is like, what does that even stand for? Like,
well, I think it stands for premenstrual, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Premenstrual.
But I had Alila Rose on our podcast on Period is Power, and she says, PMS, please more space.
Oh, I love that.
I love that, especially because speaking to the Enchantress, which is the premenstrual archetype that, and she also the Enchantress also represents like fall or any transition. So like even what we're collectively going through right now is like an Enchantress phase. And the Enchantress just wants space. She wants to be able to take up her space. And even Sam used the word, when I'm honoring myself, I'm not a contracted person, because that is the experience that causes a lot of the, PMS symptoms, like the pain and more of the mood experiences, where it's because we feel contracted into our being, and it's like the enchantress just wants to be like, ugh, like break open, take up her space, be loud, do the roaring, do like, really be big. And yeah, so I just really loved that when she was like, please, more space. I was like, oh, that's so fitting, so perfect.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to like carry on from there. So there's the enchantress phase, and then what are the other three? Like, how would you guys share those archetypes and like those phases and like all of that jazz? I would love to dive into that.
So we'll start with the maiden, which is actually the post bleeding. So just after you finished bleeding, your body has actually released. You actually feel lighter in your body. You feel more active, and you have a quicker like mental sharpness, mental acuity. And there's kind of like the maiden represents the spring. She represents early childhood through like adolescence, a little bit of our early 20s. And she's like when the morning is or the sun is just first coming up in the morning. And so it's this real like fresh lightness, and an innocence, even like the phrase ignorance is bliss. Like you could really give that to the maiden. And then we have the mother, and the other thing too about the maiden before I move on is that she's like has this drive and this desire to really learn, and she's super curious and she's playful, and like it doesn't mean that just because she is like this kind of younger, fresher energy that she's not like also this sensual, like sexy woman, because she is, but she expresses it in this different way. And she might even, like the maiden comes out a little bit more when we're like wanting to try new things in the bedroom and maybe take a little bit more control in the bedroom and kind of like play like the cat and mouse kind of games and stuff like that. Like that's very much the maiden coming out. And then there is the mother, and she is the full moon, she is the summer, and she's your ovulation phase. And she is really like all of her energy is just like pouring out of her, but it has to come from this deeply inward nourished place so that she has that to give. And she's very representative of the earth herself, like the earth mother, and her just being just like gushing with life and giving all of this beautiful life that we have around us on earth. And then we have the enchantress, which we talked about a little bit. And the enchantress is just more of like the sensual, the primal, the animal part of the feminine. And she's also like, she's between worlds, right? She's like the phase of the moon going from the full moon into the darkness of the new moon. And so she's very much pulled between this like total outward energy and then this very inward energy. And that's why it's so important to like go in, find your grounding, and then like push and like fill up your space and fill up your boundaries, your energetic boundaries in that phase, because that's what she's really wanting and needing, so that she's not feeling like she's constantly being pulled in two directions. And yeah, she is the fall. She is the turn of the day into night. So like all of these transitional phases. And like she can even represent, changing relationships, changing careers. It's pretty much any time in our lives when we are experiencing a big shift and a transition. And then lastly, we have the wise woman phase, which is also sometimes called the crone. And she represents the new moon. She represents the time of literally being in the womb, as well as that like first infancy time of our life, as well as postmenopause. So, and then we kind of like have that that wise elderly perspective on life. And she is more in the like, she's very connected to spirit. She's literally like in the void of the womb and receiving the wisdom of herself, her own spirit, and all of life. And it's really important during that phase that we aren't over consuming, especially with things like social media or the news, or even people who, you know, impact us in more negative way. It's really important to be aware of what we are consuming through our mind and through our mouths as well during that time. And so she's the bleeding phase, if I didn't say that already. Yeah.
I love that. So then within, you know, understanding these phases and understanding how that, like learning that cycle and living in that cycle, I feel like that has been the biggest shift in my entire life. Like learning to know when I am in which phase, and how having that awareness literally gives you almost infinite power to come into your sovereignty and come into your truth, because you're in alignment with yourself. You're like, okay, I know what I'm going through. I know what I'm feeling. I know what I'm experiencing. You know, all these dots begin to connect. And I think that that's just that whole living with your cycle is, it's just bringing magic into my life. And even, you know, with business or partnerships and relationships, understanding that and knowing that and beginning to track your cycle, it just creates a lot more grace and ease within your each phase that you go through.
Yeah, I know Carissa, after having gone through the program the womb journey that I led, that you got a lot out of that and really saw that. So I'd love for you to actually share about what that experience has been like for you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, awareness of the cycles. Just knowing, like you were saying, like just having the awareness of like, oh, like that's what I'm going through right now. Like just being able to have that awareness, so huge. And then also being able to have so many tools to know what to give myself in whichever cycle I'm in, and how to plan my life a little bit too. Like I can look ahead and like see my cycle and my schedule and know how I want to. It feels so witchy, like knowing, like, you know, when to plan this and this, and like knowing what's going to be like optimal. And it's so empowering to just understand. And it also, these cycles are in our day too. So like afternoon is enchantress, so like morning, early morning maiden, mother, and afternoon enchantress, evening wise woman. So even being able to understand like the emotions that I can go through in a day is so empowering. And I've learned to find so much pleasure in each phase, and especially in the enchantress, which usually for me was like filled with so much like pain, and not physical pain much for me personally, but emotional pain, and like questioning my whole life and feeling like really empty and sad. And like it would be like every month I'd have like a huge like life crisis of like everything is horrible and I need to change everything. And now I really spend time in ceremony during that phase, and journaling, and a lot of time in deep nourishment, which is a meditation practice from Amba Movement, in which you lie on the earth and sync up with the rhythms of the earth, and so much wisdom can come from that, and so much deep rest. And yeah, so I do a lot of that as well, a lot of movement, growling, yelling, releasing. And I love it. Like I love getting in touch with my anger and my all the emotions, it's like I don't get caught up in my head with them anymore. And now it's like I actually know how to feel them in my body and use them to create and feel and how much beauty there is in feeling and allowing myself to feel.
Yeah, I love that. And it paints like a whole new reality for a woman, especially I'm sure as like an artist, I totally relate with you on that. And like knowing like, okay, when is my creative energy at its high? How can I channel that into my art, or how can I channel that into the offerings that I'm giving to the world? And so another question came up during what you were sharing, Carissa, is so when a woman has, say, for instance, an inconsistent cycle, or maybe the cycle isn't the full, typical length, how does that show up with these different phases? Like, can she get stuck in a certain cycle, or is there a way that cycle is like influencing another one to have an imbalance? Like, how does that usually work within the Yoni energy and all that's evoked through that?
Yeah. I mean, for me, my cycle is changing a lot. So it's always shifting. And so it's never like, I never have it like planned out to the specific day. It takes a lot of internal sensing and having awareness of, it's nice to be able to like look at the calendar and see like where I might be at. But understanding, and sensing, where I'm at each day, and yeah, knowing there's some room within that. Also, like, I mean, with things going on in our lives, that can have such an impact on it. And just because we're technically in the maiden phase of our cycle doesn't always mean we're going to feel just like bright and chipper and fresh, like a maiden in a garden smelling a flower. It's like there can be other factors in our life or astrologically. So understanding that as well, like just understanding that those are the archetypes, but you could be experiencing a different archetype that's different than what your actual cycle is on, has been helpful for me. And yeah, also what you said about how they can, if you're not experiencing each cycle in the best possible way, or the way that's most serving, nurturing, caring for you, how that can bleed over into your other cycles. So yeah, I totally find that like if I'm not really nurturing myself in the Enchantress and Wise Woman, then that might spill over into my whole cycle. And in my maiden and my mother phase, I might be still feeling all these things that didn't really get resolved because I didn't fully feel them in my darker cycles. Yeah, I think that answers what you're asking.
That is so
I would also like to say, for the woman who does experience inconsistent cycles, because this is a question I've gotten quite a bit of, like, well, my maiden phase actually lasts 2 or 3 weeks, or my Enchantress phase or whatever. And for them, I really suggest for them to follow the cycles of the moon. And when the moon is in that archetypal phase, to be doing the practices and the rituals and kind of the overall, like, how you're thinking about your thought processes around things, and to follow the cycles of the moon. And that can actually help to set a woman back onto a regular cycle. I've actually seen that happen a handful of times, which is really, really powerful. And we spoke about yoni steaming a little bit before as well. And that practice, oh my goodness, almost every single woman, including myself and us, all 3 of us sitting here, have experienced that when you incorporate that practice, your cycle actually starts to like recalibrate to what I believe is our more like natural cycle, where, you know, unique to the individual woman. And so, yeah, if a woman is experiencing inconsistent cycles, irregular cycles, anything like that. I mean, I even had a sister of mine, she hadn't had a period for somewhere between 3 and 5 years. And, you know, and it had to do with like sexual trauma and just life experiences and certain things going on with her health. And she started incorporating this work and doing yoni steaming, as well as some like energy work. And she, like, within a couple months, she got her first bleed again. And she's actually like able to feel her rhythms again. And just the growth that she's now seeing in her life and in the work that she's doing, and the confidence she's able to bring through that into the world is just remarkable.
Yeah, I definitely can see that, especially, you know, when there is that like lapse or imbalance, or even if it's like, okay, you're bleeding for 2 weeks, or, you know, these are, I notice, you know, for what my own experience and like what I've, you know, bared witness to through other women in my life, is these are signs to come back into an alignment. So when you're experiencing these heavy inconsistencies, if like that means you haven't had your cycle in like years or months, or, you know, it's very long or very short. I love that you share the practice of, you know, cycling up with the moon, or doing yoni steaming, or even for me, one thing that has really helped is taking sacred baths with like salts and different plants that, you know, can really help the physical body and help support it to like bring on your bleed or balance it out. Like there's so many resources available. And I think that it is a lot more, say, magical or mystical than the medical world wants to like say it is. You know, though they're the first way to help misalignment cycle is to just put it on birth control, you know, which, I mean, you know, to each their own, but like, you don't have to do that. You know, you don't have to do that. I just like want women to know that there are way more effective ways to get your cycle back and get back into your rhythm, and, you know, have a positive experience with every single phase without going that route.
Yeah.
I'm really passionate about that.
Yeah, it's so important, and such like Sam and I were just talking about this recently, because I just, you know, every once in a while I get women who reach out to me on Instagram and say like, you know, I've been experiencing this thing and I went to my doctor and now I'm just more confused and and like they just told me to go on birth control, and I just get so like sad for all women that is the experience. You know, that we seek out help and support, and it's really not even at the fault of our doctors, because they're not taught about it either. Mm-hmm. It's not something that they're educated on in medical school, of like a woman's cycles and like actually how to get a woman back on track with her cycle and sync with her natural rhythms. That's just not what they're literally told. Like, oh, you just you know, subscribe her some birth control and that'll handle it.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, actually, that's, yeah, that sucks.
I
wanted to add into that is that Western medicine doesn't really acknowledge that a womb that is shifted or tilted and moved out of alignment or even dropped. In Spanish, we call it matriz caída. So when your womb, your uterus, drops into your pelvic bowl, and sometimes it just even like can fold in half, or it can like shift to one side. And so Western medicine isn't really acknowledging that this could be the cause for our infertility, our really bad menstrual cramps, or our missing periods, or if we're experiencing like even depression. It's our physical organ not our womb not receiving the proper blood flow that it needs to function at its highest potential. And yeah, so I forgot to mention in my intro that I'm a Wise Womb Medicine Path massage practitioner. So this is where a lot of that information is coming from. And so just wanted to mention that, because sometimes like this, our womb, like I didn't even know before I did my womb massage training, like I didn't even know that our womb can move. Like, that's crazy. Why don't we know this information? Why don't we know that our womb can move, and that we should be like covering our womb and keeping our belly warm and our womb warm? It's just information that is definitely not taught to us as we go into womanhood. Isn't this initiation into womanhood that shows us like, hey, this is how you take care of your womb. This is how you take, because the womb is just such an important organ that is very, just very crucial and detrimental to a woman's health, and can be the cause of a lot of issues that we might not even be aware of. In my opinion, I think it starts with a misaligned womb.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like the apex of our being, and even like, especially like how you said, even like depression, and I experienced so many sisters who are on birth control, and like one of my friends, like she's been on birth control for like ever, and she has literally not even bled in 15 years. And she experiences, all these different things. And, it's just so important for women to realize that like, you're not crazy. What you're going through is real, and not bleeding or bleeding too much, and all these some of these imbalances within your cycle or can really create that disharmony. And so it just takes checking in and like really understand that like your womb is the apex of your being. And, through doing this kind of work and having this realization, you can come into balance. But it takes understanding that you are a whole system, and you're not like a problem to fix. You're just something to bring into a balance. So if you're experiencing imbalances, looking at your diet, looking at like, am I on birth control? How could this be affecting my emotions? How could this be affecting my weight or my regular temperature, and how does that affect how I physically feel in my body, and all the air, or how I can even show up in intimacy. There's so many different like aspects that this can, like you said, bring up. And I just really wanted to share that like it's okay wherever you're at, but like start digging deeper and realize that like you just have to bring yourself into balance. And then once you do that, it's like so graceful and such a beautiful shift, and everything can harmonize, but we have to take the responsibility of our bodies and of womb carrying people. We have to take that responsibility and do that work and be like, okay, the doctor said this, but like, I know that's not it. Like, how can I come into my sovereignty, into my body, and really allow myself to understand what's going on inside of me? It's crazy.
Yeah. And I think that's like really, it's like a really important thing to take ownership of, is like you have to take ownership of you taking ownership of your body, because we live in a society that tells you like, if they don't have like the credentials and they don't have the letters and whatever, then they're not, you can't listen to them. And a lot of women will actually live by that and be like, well, they're my doctor, I have to trust them. And, I'm not going to trust the articles that I found on Yoni steaming that are, propaganda and have ties in, there's money behind these articles that say like Yoni steaming is not safe and whatever.
Yeah.
So, do your research on where the sources of what you're reading and everything. But yeah, it's revolutionary. It's crazy because it's the most natural thing for a woman to be in connection with her womb and her cycles and her body. But at this point in life, in humanity, it is revolutionary to take that stand and take ownership over your ownership of your body. And something else that I wanted to bring in, when in regards to you asking, like, you know, what does this give you, and what, you know, what's come of this, of being in connection? And it's like being able to actually feel your unique rhythm is so powerful, and it's something that you don't even realize that you're missing until you find it, until you're like in connection to it and in sensing it. And this is something that we talk a lot about in Amba Movement, because even just doing the movement and embodying the elements through your body and doing deep nourishment, which is like syncing up with the earth and being able to feel that rhythm, you come into this deeper connection with your unique rhythm. And also we find that through our own menstrual cycle. And being on birth control, you're not feeling your own rhythm. You're not even having a rhythm, actually. The periods that you have on birth control are not actually periods. Yeah. And feeling your own, it's like we also live in a society, depending on where you are, where you grew up, and what your family is, and all the things that tells you that you need to be doing a certain thing by a certain time in your life. You need to have gone to college and graduated by this certain time. You need to have gotten married and had a baby by this certain time. Or God forbid you have a baby before that certain time, or whatever, like my case. And for myself, I'll speak for myself, that it's brought such deep peace and contentment and pleasure of being in my own rhythm, and being able to honor that my rhythm's not your rhythm. My rhythm's not my sister or my brother or my friends or my peers' rhythm. It's my rhythm. And I didn't come here to live by someone else's rhythm. And ultimately, the planet is needing us all to honor our own rhythms and to not try to all be the same rhythm or expression or anything else.
That's so true. I love that. So to round it off, we talked about Yoni steams, and I want to end this with just sharing some ways that women can find their own rhythm and connect to their yoni, and really begin to explore what this beautiful space is for them. And so if you guys could share just some of your own favorite practices, or things that you teach in the Yoni Temple School on how a woman can find her yoni magic and activate it. I know we talked about yoni steaming and that kind of stuff, but if you want to further elaborate on anything, this is totally a space to do that.
Yes. I would love to start by saying my favorite part of the medicine that I get to offer at Yoni Temple School is all of it is so amazing. And my favorite is the womb massage practice, because that is so detrimental to our health as women. And another favorite thing of mine is the community space of being together and doing this together as women, rising into the power of her womb and the power of her whole body. And so being in the space where we get to witness other women doing that for herself, and it ultimately reawakens the womb of all of us together. And how Hannah says, it awakens the womb of humanity. So by doing this work, you are helping others connect to their womb, and not by preaching in any sort of way, but just by the energetic, the energy of a woman being connected and rooted in her body, in her womb, in her heart to the earth. That energy is the portal to helping the earth wake up. Yeah.
Yeah, there's practices and rituals and just ways of being and living to really honor each of these 4 phases of our menstrual cycle, and that kind of are expressions of the archetypes that we talked about. And so there's so many ways. There's really so many ways. I mean, even just simply bringing your hands onto your womb and breathing into your womb, that's really like the place to start if you're right at the beginning of this. And there's, beautiful womb meditations and breathing practices. There are practices of actually going in and doing clearings. I actually love working with a crystal wand, a crystal pleasure wand, to not only for like sexual pleasure, but actually for connecting to the wisdom, the traumas, the emotions, the experiences that we store within our the walls of our yoni, and ultimately within our womb space. And there's a practice called de-armoring, and you can literally use the wand to like massage and press into the walls of your yoni to actually like break up any sort of like stuckness and stagnation and tension and contraction. And when you do that, you'll actually notice the next time you bleed that you'll release more tissue, and because like that stuff is actually able to release, whether it was a physical thing or an emotional thing or whatever it is. There's also collecting your blood, which we have shared quite a bit about on our Instagram page. And you can actually collect your blood while you're bleeding and then give it to the soil, give it to the earth, whether it's in an area around your home or even your house plants. Any soil will love the nitrogen richness of your blood. And you can actually use that as a manifestation practice as well. Yoni steaming, breast massage, so much that we can be doing. Carissa, is there anything that you want to add to that?
Dancing, like just put on some music and dance and feel your womb while you dance, and dance from starting inside your womb. And then like you're dancing like with your pelvic bowl and like just that whole area. It's just like such a powerful creative center and powerful way to start your day if you want to have a little like morning dance practice, even just to a song or
you can join us for womb dance every Tuesday at 11 a.m. Pacific time.
Yes. And we will guide you into dancing with your womb.
The free womb dance live stream gathering that happens with women all over the world who tune in every single day at the same time, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific time, and we dance and we celebrate and we move from our womb. We root and ground all of that energy into our body, into our earth, and then go back into our day in this energetic state.
I'm joining next week. Yes.
Yes. It's totally free. It's like a little 30-minute activation.
Yeah, it's awesome. Yeah, and ultimately we this is everything that we teach and share, and more within the Medicine Sisters membership that we just opened the doors to the wait list, and we will be officially launching enrollment very, very soon. And that will include an entire global earth-rich sisterhood where you can be doing all of this work and exploring these practices and this wisdom, this ancient wisdom of empowerment and healing and embodiment through online classes and courses and workshops and new moon circles. And every month we'll be journeying together with a specific archetype or goddess or plant spirit or element that we channel as something that is really needed for the collective. And so we'll journey together through that as a so if you're listening and you are feeling called to this at all, we really invite you to head to our membership page, which is yonitempleschool.com/membership, and just read through it and see how it feels in your body. And if it speaks to you as something that could really support you on your path, then yeah, we want to welcome you into that space and into that sisterhood. And it's going to be a really beautiful place where you can actually make connections with women, which is different than going to a yoga class or a sound bath or anything like that, where you see the women one time and then you might not ever see them again. And yeah, so this is building sisterhood, as well as, and like what Sam mentioned before, is like when we do this work together as women, we're actually so when wombs are together and they do this work together, wombs charge one another. And so it actually helps you to access more of yourself that you may not have accessed otherwise.
Yeah, and another big reason why we are bringing this all together in one space for women to access is also so that we have a community space for all women to be able to share their own offerings and to be able to have a community of women that you can say, hey sisters, like look, I just launched my course, you can check it out. Or hey sisters, I just launched my medicine line, like let me know what you think, here you go. And it's just a space where we can come together and share our medicine. I've definitely in the past have run into experiences where it feels like just because one person is doing something or offering something or sharing whatever healing practice or something means that the other woman, there's not enough space for the other women to do the same thing. So we call this the sisterhood wound. And we are also inspired to grow from that and create something that has space for all of us to share our medicine, has space for all of us to share our voice and our message and our offerings. And when we support each other, it's so, oh my gosh, there's just like this feeling of like deep aliveness. And for me, it just feels like a celebration. So yeah.
So beautiful. Yes. Yeah, I'm definitely going to be in the membership. I'm so excited. I'm really looking forward to it. And I just, it's such an honorable thing because that it is an old wound. It's so outdated. And, we can trace it back even down to like the witch trials and like really how this wound got created, and we had to do that shit to survive, but we're not in that paradigm anymore. We are in a space where we can come together and we can charge up together and we can share with one another authentically. And I think that this is such a beautiful invitation to just come into deeper understanding with self while also tending to your sisters and creating sisterhood. So and you can see it, like even how, when you're around a woman, your cycles will match up. Like we are in connection with each other to a deep, deep way that is like on a cellular level. So coming together with women who are into the same things as you and who are on a journey of self-empowerment and exploration, it only can magnetize your life. And so I'm just so excited for all that you guys offer and such a huge supporter. Thank you so much for this, interview. And I love it. So, yeah, they can check you out on your website and then also your guys' social medias and all anything. If you want to share other resource ways that people can find you, feel free to do that too.
Yeah, I think Instagram is definitely the best way. We spend, most of our time hanging out on there. So that's Yoni Temple School. And we write beautiful channeled love letters to your inbox bi-monthly. And so if you want to get on our newsletter is what we call it, rather than a newsletter, it's a newsletter. And so you can go to our website, yonitempleschool.com, and subscribe to get those love letters from us. And one other thing too that I want to mention about the membership is that part of our inspiration behind creating an online membership was this desire to create a really accessible way for women to be doing this work, which again is your birthright, to be in this deep connection with yourself and with your body. And so it is like one of our deepest like values to offer this at a really affordable price. And so you are going to be investing a lot in terms of your love and your energy towards yourself. But in terms of money, it's literally the cost of like one yoga class a month. And that's like unheard of. And just say that. and you can do that work in the membership. We'll have subconscious unblocking and really digging into that kind of stuff. And it's important. You should value yourself and value your embodiment and value your expansion and value, really being the being that you came here to be, the light that you came here to shine, and ultimately the medicine that you came here to share with this planet. So yeah, only women on the wait list actually will be getting that special price. Our regular price is incredibly low anyway, but women on the wait list will have access to the $20 a month. So yeah, definitely get yourself on there and reach out. We love connecting. Of course, we have the podcast as well. We didn't even mention that. Period is Power podcast. And yeah, we really love getting to connect with you and hear from you and hear about how what we are offering is helping you and supporting you and perhaps changing your life or anything like that. So if you listen to the podcast, share it on your Instagram stories and we'll reshare on our page. And yeah, it just brings us joy. So
so beautiful. Well, thank you, sisters, for this conversation. And yeah, I am in infinite gratitude. So thank you so much. And I'm excited to see what stems from this conversation in our listeners' lives. So thank you so much and enjoy your day and all the magic that is unfolding for you forever.
Thanks so much, Tierney. It's such a pleasure to be on here. Can't wait to connect with everyone.
Yay!
Thank you. So much fun. Bye.
Bye.
I hope you all enjoyed this episode of the Wild Medicine Podcast. If you did, I invite you to leave us a review sharing your experience and what you learned from this episode and the many episodes that you may have listened to. I invite you to dive deep into our archives of over 40 episodes around similar topics of holistic healing, facing your shit, and embodying your power. Alrighty, guys, I will see you in the next episode. Move forward with grace and ease. Take time for yourself and have fun. Peace out.